President Donald Trump has signed a slew of executive orders in his first hours in office. One of those is rolling back mandates for electric vehicles. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost questioned lawmakers in Annapolis today about the impact to Maryland's climate plans.
Governor Wes Moore has championed several climate change solutions during his time in office. Now that President Donald Trump is in office and is rolling back some electric vehicle mandates, a handful of Republicans here in Annapolis are calling on Governor Moore to do the same.
Well, help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
After taking the oath of office,
What is this one? Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh.
President Donald Trump was quick to sign more than 24 executive orders, including one unleashing American energy, eliminating the electric vehicle mandates, and President Trump says this will promote truer consumer choice. Hours later, the Maryland Freedom Caucus out with this letter calling on Governor Wes Moore to rescind Maryland's participation in the California Advanced Clean Cars EV program. The program requires 43% of vehicles sold in Maryland by model year 2027 be all electric. Delegate Matt Morgan says in reality that deadline is even sooner.
So people don't realize that in 2026, 43% of all the cars sold in Maryland have to be EV. That's completely unrealistic.
You believe that Maryland is equipped to handle the level of mandates that we're seeing coming from the governor?
Yeah, not even close. We're not even remotely close to being ready. We're in hope that the governor will, reasonable minds would prevail here. He'll follow the White House lead.
Do you think that'll happen?
I do think it'll happen. I think the governor is a really reasonable person, and then, he wants to do what's best for Marylanders, and this is obviously the right decision for him to make, and we want to encourage him to make that decision.
We sent Governor Moore's office a few questions Tuesday asking, is he planning to rescind the current orders relating to EVs in Maryland? Is he reviewing the current plans when it comes to EVs to make adjustments? Does Maryland have the infrastructure necessary to support the EV goals? The governor's team telling Fox 45 News in part, EV incentives have helped to lead to more choice, adding choice remains in the hands of the consumer. And clean cars and clean truck standards do not ban ownership of gasoline vehicles, but instead incentivize manufacturers to maximize choice and innovation in the market with hybrid and electric products. The governor's latest budget proposal does call for more funding toward his climate goals.
The proposed budget doubles the funding for initiatives to support the climate pollution reduction plan from $90 million in our current fiscal 25 budget to $180 million in fiscal 26.
Meanwhile,
interesting times. Let's just jump right in.
Senate President Bill Ferguson says without funding from the federal government, it's likely some of the goals from the governor's office will need to be adjusted.
Given our budget situation, we have to prioritize what can we do, what will have the biggest impact. I do think it will force us to address the scope of initiatives with a greater lens of prioritization. And we have to focus on what's going to have the biggest impact to reduce our carbon emission goals, knowing that there's less federal funds to backfill.
Senator Ferguson says he's waiting on data to see what the EV market really is in this state. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, in 2023, there were 72,000 electric vehicle registrations in the state, 31,300 plug-in hybrids in Maryland, and 168,700 hybrid vehicles. By contrast, the Energy Department says there were more than 4.3 million gasoline registered vehicles in the state.
If the data isn't there, are you willing to say that we need to pause some of the goals and mandates that are in place?
I don't know if it's about pause. I think we should adjust based on the facts, and we have to be honest about where the facts are and then adjust our programs and plans accordingly. So, I think a pause really suggests that we're rolling back efforts for climate change. I think that will never be the case.
This letter from the Freedom Caucus highlights the connection Maryland's climate policies have to California, but it's not just EVs. Both Governor Moore and California Governor Gavin Newsom pushed the transition to renewable energy. Maryland committing to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 60% by 2031 and reaching net zero by 2045. California set a goal to become carbon neutral by 2045. Governor Newsom also pushing for a ban on new gas-powered car sales by 2035, subsidizing zero-emission vehicles. And like President Trump's order, some Republicans in Maryland argue rolling back some of these green initiatives centers around consumer choice.
Consumers shouldn't be forced into paying higher utility costs. They're already struggling with the record inflation in the last couple of years, and it needs to be pared down.
And ending the EV mandates could be a start.
The governor's office tells me that it still plans to offer tax incentives for electric vehicles and expand the state's infrastructure for charging. There is a briefing scheduled in the Senate tomorrow afternoon to go over all of this. In the State House, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.